welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. It's Diane, your lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder. And today's episode is brought to you by Milk by Mom. With innovative freeze-drying technology, you can store and transport breast milk effortlessly without compromising its nutritional value. We will hear more from our sponsor later, but you can head to our sponsor page at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com if you ever need anything. See if you can give them any of your business because they make this podcast possible. And then scroll down and enter your email address and we'll send episodes straight to your inbox every week. And we are on Patreon and we would love to see you there. We're doing all extra episodes in our Zoom Hangouts, and we're having a lot of fun with getting to know people in here. And a little shout out to Nicole L., Carolyn K., Jacqueline B., Holly H., and I think that's for the newest people. Lena L. I might have shouted out Lena L last time.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I'll shout you out a million times. Rebecca G, Stephanie D, Rachel M. We're going back. We're so excited to have you there, and we're really enjoying, getting to know you. And we hope you join us. And so check the link at the top of the show notes wherever you're listening from. Just click, see more or whatever, and you'll see a link there. You can also find it over at Badass Breastfeeding Podcast .com. And we're doing our ongoing giveaway. So send us your screenshots of reviews from around the internet and send it to badassbreastfeedingpodcast@gmail.com with your address. And we'll send you a goodie bag of stickers. And thank you for nursing in public cards. And now Diane has our review of the week.
Yes, this came from somebody who had left 5 stars on Spotify and couldn't leave because you can't leave a review on Spotify. You can only do stars, which we appreciate too. So if you do stars, that's fine. And she went the extra mile and emailed us a review, which was really sweet. Says, I love this podcast. I started listening when I was pregnant from a friend's recommendation and have been breastfeeding for almost 6 months with a goal to go at least a year. Your podcast has taught me so much and has been invaluable in my journey, and I have recommended this to countless friends. It has also been helpful in dispelling some misinformation that I have received from my pediatrician and family who are not as familiar with breastfeeding mamas. I also have a breastfed in public, both covered and uncovered, more times than I can count, and your podcast and Instagram page helps validate me and my choices so much. Thank you so much. And I love that she's like, we're doing awesome. We're breastfeeding in public. We're out to 6 months now. Like, she is rocking it.
Yeah, that's really fun. I remember that when you just get going and you feel really just good.
Confident,
or you
right?
Hope so. Confident. And yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. And thank you to whoever it was that put her on to us, because that is so helpful when you guys share it and encourage others to listen. And we really appreciate that so much. Oh, thank you. Thank you for going the extra step and sending that in for us too. That was really sweet. Because you didn't have to, you could have just left it at the 5 stars. So that was really nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
And thanks for everybody that's sending in their reviews. Every week I'm sending out gift baggies. So
I know, that's cool.
I know, it is fun. I love it. All over the world too. So
yeah. Just because you're not in the U.S., you can. Sometimes people are like, "Where are you?" I thought the accent made it obvious, but we're in the U.S. But it doesn't matter. We can ship anywhere in the world.
Yep, anywhere in the world, doesn't matter. So thanks. And should we get going?
Yes. Expectations are future resentments.
Oh, future resentments.
That's the thing I know about expectations.
Is that their future resentments?
Yeah. Like when you expect something, it's probably not going to happen that way because our expectations are often built off of misinformation and, I don't know, mainstream media, which is not reliable. And so then you're disappointed and resentful. At least I was.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I really had, thank goodness, when I had my kids, they're a little bit older than Abby's kids. So the social media thing was just starting. And I mean, imagine you don't have social media, right? For anybody that's like listening, imagine that it's just not out there yet, or it's just starting. And you have 3 little kids below the age of 3. And somebody says to you, "Oh, aren't you on Facebook? Do you really have time for that?" When you've got 3 kids below the age of 3, a set of twins, and you're trying to like just get by throughout the day. And somebody asks you if you're on Facebook because it's this brand new thing that just started and everybody wants to catch up. I think it was like one of my Army friends was like, "Oh, you got to get on Facebook." And I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And I don't have time for this kind of thing.
Yeah. Which is not a bad thing, actually.
No, it wasn't.
I don't think Facebook helps people in their parenting. Well, I mean, it certainly helped in some ways, but
no. So I had like 0 expectations for what I was supposed to, because I had no social media. I wasn't looking at anything. I wasn't watching TV, like I wasn't. I was busy raising these 3 kids and didn't even tap into anything like that. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, nobody knows what they're doing. But I mean, you just grow up thinking that newborns sleep. Because you see on TV,
That's
people
what you
have
see.
a newborn, you see on TV just like newborn sleep. You're like, okay, that's what I've always seen.
So I was at this training the other day. It was really cool. It was on craniosacral therapy. And in the, like, there was like, I don't know, 25 of us there or something like that. And there was another practitioner. She does speech language pathology. She's an SLP. And she was talking to other people about how when she runs groups and things like that, because she runs like groups for like play groups and stuff with babies. And she said the thing that keeps coming up over and over again is sleep, and how the expectations are so skewed from what reality is. And it's just like, you hear this all the time. So I'm hearing that. And then of course I see all the time how like breastfeeding and newborn expectations are so completely skewed. I see that so often.
Yeah.
That people just think that, what their baby, they're just not expecting that their baby is going to cry between feedings, or that their baby is going to be fussy, or that their baby is going to, whatever it is that their baby's doing, that they're not sleeping. They're eating not sleeping constantly. 12 hours. They're eating constantly and they're not sleeping 12 hours in a row.
Yeah.
And how, I can't tell you how many times I've had people say, well, the baby just doesn't sleep that much at night. Is their brain going to develop because they're not sleeping? And it's like, but they're sleeping.
You hear about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's a thing. And it's like, no, your baby is sleeping. They're just not sleeping in a row. Like they're sleeping. They're getting their sleep in. It's just an hour here, an hour there.
Right.
They're not like sleeping, your baby might not sleep 7, 8, 9, 10 hours in a row from the very beginning. It's just not realistic. But that's what we see and that's what we hear. And for some reason, which I still do not understand, people that have already had children still pass those expectations along.
They do.
Why is that?
I don't know.
I don't understand that.
I think we're so caught up in like cultural norms, cultural expectations that like, first of all, people don't realize how powerful like society is, and just our view as like a society as a whole. Like it completely overrides logic, even sometimes personal experience. When like my mom does this all the time. She's like, oh yeah, home birth. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, it could be really dangerous. And I'm like, she witnessed me have a baby in my living room. She was standing there.
Oh my God.
And she's just like going on because you hear about this all the time that, which is part of this, don't do things on your own. Your insurance company really wants you to pay for that. But, she says all these things all the time where I'm like, do you like, what?
It's so crazy.
I think it's crazy and I just think that it just overrides everything. These cultural norms, these cultural things.
And then you see stuff on Instagram about these perfect families, these perfect babies, these perfect settings, which is kind of what I was alluding to when I said like I wasn't on social media at all in the beginning. Like I didn't have time for that. So I wasn't, and I think it would have crushed me if I had been, because I would have been like, everybody is doing this parenting thing way better than me. Like, because that's what you see every day.
Totally.
Every single day. That's what you see. And it just fulfills all these expectations that that are just not there. Like, and we see that too with like pumping. People are pumping like they have these huge stockpiles of milk and they're showing them on social media. These, people are like, well, I don't have a huge freezer full of milk.
Exactly.
What's wrong with me?
And then you just think that's normal without the backstory that this person has an oversupply and actually they're probably not really happy about it. They probably have mastitis a lot and it's very annoying and not normal.
But they're not telling you that. They're just saying, look at all this milk.
They're just like, wow, look at this. Cool. Look how cool I am.
Which it is,
fine. Like if you donate all that milk, that's great. But like tell the whole story, please. Right.
And at this training, there was a baby at the training and this is a baby that was very chill. It was just a chill baby. And you could tell like, he didn't make it sound, well, he did little kind of talking, like he didn't cry, didn't fuss,
cooing.
Little cooing thing, little cooing noise. He's 5 months and, just kind of chit chatty kind of noises and passed around like, people were holding him and stuff like that. And he was just chill. He was just a chill baby. And I think sometimes people don't realize it. Sometimes it's just their personality too.
Yeah.
Like that was just his personality, just a chill kid. And some babies are just not like that.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, he's such a good baby. What a good baby.
My mother loves to say that.
Yeah.
About babies.
And then the crying baby on the airplane is just like, God, what a pain in the ass.
I always try to call her out when she says that. And I'm always just like, what, Mom? So what's going to make him a bad baby? What's he going to do to be a bad baby, Mom? She just like laughs or whatever. Or like my sisters will, if they're sitting around, they'll laugh. But I'm just like, that drives me crazy. Oh, he's such a good baby.
I know. I hate that.
Such a good baby. It's like, but what's a bad, what? So if they fuss, they're bad, yes, they're naughty?
The only thing that good baby suggests is that there's bad babies.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
How messed up is that? That's so messed up. There's no such thing as a bad baby.
No, there is not. There is not. But babies definitely have their own little personalities. And there's no way of knowing what your baby's personality is going to be until they're born.
Right. It has nothing to do with what you were like as a baby. It has nothing to do with what its sibling was like or what has nothing to do with that. It's going to come out its own person.
I used to hear, and I really wonder about this sometimes too, that like if the parents are high strung, the baby's high strung. Well, but if the parents are super chill, the baby's going to be super chill.
Now, see, comes back to the whole argument of like nature versus nurture, right? Because like some things we're born with, and some things are as a result of our environment. Like Josh and I were extremely high anxiety parents in the beginning, high anxiety people. Mm-hmm. And Jack is very high anxiety. And I don't know if he was born high anxiety or if, we made him just like being raised by these high anxiety people made him that way. That's like that's the question we don't necessarily know the answer to.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And Nathan was pretty laid back and chill. I think my babies were pretty, they're high anxiety now. Oh my God. But when they were babies, I think they were pretty chill, but I was kind of a little bit more laid back too. Because I, again, didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know I was supposed to be high strung.
There's something to be said for not knowing because then you don't know.
Yeah.
Freak out.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. And I had like no expectations really because I didn't have anything that was really set up in front of me. I didn't have anybody that had kids. My sisters, that was it. And they, I didn't have any friends that had babies where I was watching and was like, oh my gosh, like your baby doesn't sleep. Like what happens? What do you do? What do you do? I I don't know, just kind of went with it. But you don't do that anymore. You never see anybody doing that anymore. People don't just go with it anymore.
Yeah. No, there's too much information now.
There's too much info. Yeah. There's way too much information out there to go on. And you can't just like roll with it.
Yeah. It's really hard to do that.
It's just that. And like one of the things that I was thinking of when I was thinking about this episode was like and I don't know if this kind of goes along with it, but one of the things that popped in my head was the apps.
Oh,
the baby
my God.
apps. And how that really sets our expectations up. I really feel like just for failure.
I feel like we need a whole episode on those apps.
We should maybe do that.
We should.
But I never used one. So I only am going off of what people tell me and how frequently they're using them and how everything is structured off of this app and the reasons behind it. Yes. And it makes you just so high strung because you're following what this app is doing. What we should be doing is following our babies.
Right.
Like that's really what we should be doing all the time. It's just kind of listening to what our baby is trying to tell us because they're telling us something with their behavior is telling us something, but we're not watching their behavior. We're looking at everything else.
No, and there's like not apps that even have a good reason to exist. Like how many times your baby fed in a day? Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
If you're feeding them on demand, then it doesn't matter. You don't have to count. It's really hard to count that anyway. When you're feeding on demand, it's really hard to count, and you don't need to count. Or like the diaper thing. Like I guess if your baby's going through some sort of gastrointestinal problems or something, maybe you need to do that. But like the whole poop log, I had a poop log.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why.
How long did you keep your poop log?
I don't know. Not that long. I don't know.
Remember
a couple weeks or something.
I remember going to somebody's house one time for a home visit and the baby was like 6 months old and she had a notebook with every single thing written in it for the last 6 months of this baby's life.
Oh my God.
Poops, pees, feedings. Every single thing was in there.
And it provides zero information.
Right.
Like it's not information that anybody needs.
Or people
like
will
you
say like
or your doctor or whatever. It's just like, okay, yeah, they're pooping. Cool.
I mean, when people come to see me, I do ask like, oh, is baby pooping and peeing or whatever? Or like, what are you doing with feeding? How often is the baby feeding? And they'll say, oh, I've got my log here. You can look at it. And it's like, no, I want to hear it. I don't want to see it in a log. Plus, then I got to put on my glasses. It's a whole thing. But just,
it's just like, if your baby's pooping or not. Like
exactly.
what you want to know is like, did the baby poop today? They pooped yesterday? Okay, cool.
Right. Does it look normal? All right, we're fine. We don't need to worry about that. Like, I don't need to know like exactly how many times and what time it was they pooped. That doesn't matter.
I would take that. They would poop. Well, it was just Jack. I didn't do this with Exley, but he would poop. And then I would like take the bottom part of the diaper and I would smush it through the poop and like examine it.
Oh my gosh.
What was I looking for? And I would be freaking out every time. Based on
do you know what you were looking for? Or were you just looking to see if anything looked different?
I don't know. I don't know. I just wanted permission to freak out, I think. Ooh, let's worry about this. It was absurd.
Wow. Yeah, because what if you had seen something different?
Diane's
you would have
wowing at my insanity.
Wow,
man, that's a whole level of crazy.
No, I'm just like, well, what were you? I'm trying to imagine, like, what would happen if you did see something, like how people see streaks of blood, like if this,
out. Yeah, it would be like mucusy, and then I would be like, oh my God, and oh my God, is that normal? I'd probably Google it.
Yeah,
and spend my time, and then he would poop, and then it would look different, and I'd be like, okay, that looks more normal. Maybe everything's fine. It was just something I mean, like, and postpartum anxiety is like a real thing. God, yeah. You do not need an app. Like that is just going to fuel all of that. When you're just anxious about, you don't even know what.
Yeah. Postpartum anxiety is a whole thing. It really is.
Let's take a break and then we'll come back and talk about more expectations.
Okay.
We'll be right back. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Milk by Mom. For moms who know the importance of providing the very best for their babies, we're thrilled to introduce a game-changing solution. Milk by Mom is on a mission to modernize how we nourish breastfed infants, offering the convenience and flexibility of formula while preserving all the goodness of breast milk. With innovative freeze-drying technology, you can store and transport breast milk effortlessly without compromising its nutritional value. This movement, spearheaded by founder Tirza, is all about empowering breastfeeding moms and educating parents on the incredible benefits of breast milk. Don't miss the opportunity to provide your baby with the best. Head to milkbymom.com and use code BADASS for 10% off your order of freeze drying your breast milk. Your baby deserves the goodness of breast milk now with the convenience you need. Embrace the future of infant nutrition and join the movement at Milk by Mom. Code BADASS for 10% off your order. And there's so many reasons to use this. Like if you have, freezers full of breast milk, you don't know what to do with it, or you have to move, or you just want to not have, your breast milk laying around in bags, you can have it freeze dried and it maintains all the nutritional value. And recently, I was talking to somebody. I can't remember. Maybe it was another sponsor when I was talking about another. I was talking to another sponsor about another sponsor, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I come from a place where power outages are really common,
Yeah,
and so that would be really handy." And I was like, "Whoa, that's really true," because you do hear those nightmare stories of people losing their breast milk.
Somebody had mentioned one time too that because it's freeze dried, it lasts longer. So
exactly. Yeah. You don't have to worry about the dates and stuff.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about the dates. And they would put the powder in with regular food later on. Like for years, you could do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's just really amazing.
It is. It's really worth it if you have a stockpile of breast milk.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, today's sponsors and their promo codes can be found in the show notes under this episode, wherever you're listening from, and also at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. Over at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, you'll also find all of our episodes and information about scheduling your very own one-on-one online lactation consultation with Dianne.
I also had a lactation consultation with one of our listeners this week, and she was also like, one of the things with her, like considering expectations, was that her first was so different than her second. Like experience, just overall.
Yeah.
The first birth experience was different. The first breastfeeding experience was like everything was easier the first time. And then the second baby was so much more difficult. And you come into these, sometimes that's the expectation you're up against, is your first baby or your second baby or whatever, and then you just, how do you not compare? How do you not just sit here and go, this is not the same? I had such a great experience the first time. And it was just devastating, because it was such a different experience. And this one was so much more challenging than the first baby. And it was really just like, this is so much harder. Like I just wasn't expecting it to be that bad, because the first one was easy,
right.
And the expectation is that they're all going to be like that.
Yeah.
Now, was Exley easier for you?
Exley was easier for me, I think, for a whole bunch of different reasons. First, I had a baby, and I had more of just a parenting support group with Exley, and he was just a little more chill.
Yeah.
Jack had zero chill. He still has zero chill. He is just very like high anxiety, high sensory, high all of that, which I know you have in your kids too.
Yeah, I do.
And Exley just isn't, he wasn't like, he kind of had a little more of a sleep schedule. He, falling asleep, was not anything I had to kind of work at. He just did it. And, the breastfeeding was a bit of a struggle in the beginning, but I also knew where to go for help that time. So it kind of resolved itself quickly. But then then, they get older because the expectations don't stop, right?
Right.
So he got a little bit older and he was like around 2 and he still wasn't talking much. And Jack was talking. Jack is very hyperverbal. He started talking really early and using words that other kids weren't using. He's just verbally, he's just very like advanced.
That's how my Nathan was. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's still like that. You should hear some of the things he comes out with sometimes. I'm having a mental health catastrophe. Like, who says that? He texted that to me one day. Like, who says that? But,
I think he said like apparently at a meetup one time, and the parents just looked at me and like, did he just say apparently? And I'm like, apparently. I know he just would say, I don't know, and he's still like that. But like Exley took a lot longer to talk. And so I was so worried. I was like, oh my God, he's not talking. But like what I was comparing him to was not average.
Right.
And I remember the doctor, thank God for that doctor, because he was like, talking, especially in the second year, is just so variable. Like you can't, he's like, I'm not worried about it. And he eventually did start, he made up for it eventually. But it's hard to you can't, when you have one experience with one baby, then in the other one, it's just like, well, this isn't what happened. What's happening?
This is happened this week, actually. So it's so funny that you bring this up. I had so much stuff happening this week around expectations, all sorts of expectations. And one of our listeners, actually, who goes to my boot camp group, her son just turned a year on November 4th, like just turned a year. And she took him to his appointment for his 1-year appointment. And the nurse practitioner told the mother that he didn't have enough words yet.
What?
Yeah.
I hate it when they say, I hate that shit.
Wasn't saying enough words yet. So of course then she was,
oh, what a horrible thing to hear.
Sets the stage for just anxiety that your child is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And it's like, wait, he just turned a year. Like, what are we expecting here? And then my sister,
a year. Yeah. God,
yeah.
What? That's that is just, see, this is another thing that who was this?
It was a nurse practitioner.
Yeah. See, they don't have any training in that.
Yeah.
If you ask a speech and language pathologist, which I actually happened to be friends with when Exley was that age, and I was like worrying, and I told her about it, and she's like, no. She's like, it's okay. He's doing this. And she would say things that like, I don't know what the fuck she's talking about. Like, 2 syllables and like, consonants and whatever. And he's making this sound. And that's very normal. And that's fine. And I was like, oh, okay. The nurse practitioner, you don't know.
Yeah, I know. My oldest sister has this little grandbaby now. And he's about to turn a year, actually, and he was born a micro preemie, which has nothing to do with this story, but he was born a micro preemie and he's doing really, really well now. But so his birthday's coming up, and we're all invited to his little birthday party, and I said, what kind of things, because his parents are both lawyers. They're very, everything has to be just so, and she said, educational toys would be really great. She goes, because, he's got to read the Bible by 1. And I, was just like funny, because it's like, that is kind of the like, you just have these expectations that your child is going to be doing these things, doing something very specific. And it's, sometimes we don't let them just be babies. When do we just let them be babies?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So with breastfeeding expectations, I really feel like everybody is just kind of like thinking, not everybody, but I think we go into this thinking, our baby's going to feed every 2 to 3 hours. And in between that, they're going to sleep. And if they do anything outside of that, it's a problem. Right?
Yeah,
like if they eat more frequently, or if they spit up, or if they're fussy afterwards or before, or, like any of these things, even though these are all very normal baby things. I can't tell you how many people get like very riled up about spit up. It's like, but this is so normal. It's so normal. I rarely meet a baby who doesn't spit up. Rarely.
Yeah.
Like that is how common it is that I expect it to happen. And people are just very, very like, what is going on? Why is my baby spitting up? Make it stop. Because you can't. It's their digestive. It's their immature digestive system.
Right.
Like we don't really think about, babies are born with these systems that are not secure yet. Like they're growing. They're growing. They're developing. They're strengthening. All these things are happening with them, and we just kind of expect that they're going to eat, sleep, and be merry all the time. Like it's just gonna, like this is what
Why
we're
don't you just eat, sleep, and be merry like the rest of us?
I know, but they just don't. Like I've had people be like, "Well, why isn't the baby sleeping after they eat? Doesn't that mean that they've had enough if they go back to sleep?" Like, no, you want them to be awake and be able to play with you and be, as long as like if they're brand new, if they're like a day or two old, yes, they're going to go back to sleep after they eat. But not if they're a few weeks old. They might not. And that's okay. That's normal. That's totally fine. But what is normal? There is no normal when it comes to babies because they're all so different. That when you say something like, well, is this normal? Yeah, absolutely. What are we comparing it to? The baby down the street? They're totally different kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it really, there is no normal.
Yeah. And there's so much of this, like trying to make these blanket statements.
Mm-hmm.
Like babies do this and babies do that. And like, you can make those statements sometimes, but usually first of all, it's usually the opposite of what you want it to be. Like babies don't usually sleep.
Yeah.
Very consistently. But like the blanket statements just don't work. Like we really, really, really want them to work. We want to be able to write books about it. We want to be able to have all this information that really applies to everyone's baby. And, you just can't do it.
Mm-mm.
And so we have all these books. Like, here's what you do with your baby to get them to sleep. And it just doesn't work.
Oh my God, there's so many books.
Yeah.
And that's what people say. I read all the books. And I'm always like, but the baby didn't read the book. Baby has no idea about the book.
Yeah.
Baby doesn't care about the book either. Let me tell you. Baby does not care what that book said. Because it's totally a different story when it comes right down to it. Your baby's going to do what your baby's going to do. And it's going to be different than what your friend's baby is doing or what you did when you were a baby. That's the other, when parents say to you, like, because I've had people say to me, oh, my mom said that I came home sleeping through the night. My mom said I never spit up. My mom said that I was not a fussy baby. Or my mom, I'm like, your mom doesn't remember. We're going back 30
your mom
years.
doesn't remember.
Your mom doesn't remember the little details.
Yeah. They just make stuff up. Those moms.
They do.
Moms of like adult kids, like they just like the memories that the view that my mom has of my like childhood. I'm just like, were you there? Like, I don't know where
were you at my childhood?
Like, because I don't remember that.
Yeah, totally. It is crazy. But try not to live by whatever it is. And your baby is going to do different than what you did. They just are. It is not going to be the same.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for listening. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.